So here we go then. MotoGP eSport Global Series qualifying at Phillip Island. It's time for the Australian, well, virtual Grand Prix, shall we call it. And if you're a regular viewer in MotoGP eSport Global Series in 2021, you notice that in the top left we do have 20 minutes of qualifying this time instead. We had a few connection issues getting the guys into the lobby, so we're just giving them 5 minutes extra so they can sort themselves out and make sure they got enough time to set themselves in and get going, while we do see that their Dark Bright unfortunately having a little crash coming out the pit lane. But yeah, Phillip Island, fast flowing. It's one of those places we've got to keep your momentum up, Jack.
Yeah, one of the best circuits on the MotoGP calendar, renowned for its fast flowing nature. It's a shame that we've been unable to travel to the magnificent circuit, of course, in the previous 2 years, but at least we can give you a flavour of it here in MotoGP eSport. Fingers crossed we should be able to get there in 2022 and experience it in real life. But for now, this is the best we're going to get. And these guys normally do put on a show.
Yeah, they certainly do. I'm sure that we're going to have very, very close racing around Phillip Island. We see close racing around Phillip Island in real life more often than not. If you think back to the last time actually MotoGP went there in real life in 2019, well, boy, what a race that was. And Aprilia leading, the old Aprilia, the one that was not so good as it is now. And yeah, it certainly was a bit of a barnstormer, that one. So if they can live up to that, then it's certainly going to be quite spicy indeed.
It is, as you say, 20 minutes means that these guys, well, they've got plenty of opportunities to put a good lap together. Of course, there's no real limit on how many soft tyres they can throw at it, which means that they'll be able to put a lap in, get themselves into pit lane, and then go again and again and again until they find that perfect lap. And here is Williams Christian, the Suzuki man, just on the grass on the inside there.
Yeah,
as you can see, the red exclamation mark pops up next to his name to indicate that he's exceeded track limit. So this lap has been cancelled and will not stand. So far, so good for Piero Ricciuti, though. You can see, obviously, everybody putting in red sectors at the moment as we wait for those first laps to flash up on our timing screens. Here's Tftw then, the two-time champion. He's gone well round here before. Remember last year, 2020, he was extremely competitive.
Yeah, he certainly was. Tftw, one of these guys that is incredibly smooth and precise, so I imagine that Phillip Island will suit the Italian style. We'll have to wait and see what happens when he comes across the line to see where his benchmark is and to see where everyone else is in relation to that as well. And we do have quite a few of them coming down now into the Honda hairpin. Not the Honda hairpin, that's MG, isn't it?
The
Honda hairpin is turn 5, right?
I believe it is, yeah. We should really know this, actually. Let's get our...
We certainly should know this.
We do. We thought... Oh, we... big MotoGP fans, of course we are, since we're commentating on it. Oh, we know the corner names here, but it's, of course, they go over the top of Lukey Heights and then drop into... I believe it is
MG.
MG,
yes.
Yeah, of course.
Yep, apologies there, getting the hairpins confused. Of course, Honda is turn 4, the very tight one after this Casey Stoner corner, which is a magnificent corner in itself.
It is. And of course, wonderful to see Adrian going through there as well. Stoner at his very best when he was on that Repsol Honda, absolutely sideways through there. Some iconic images.
Yeah, there really was. I'm sure that we're going to see a little bit of sideways action here in MotoGP eSport. They certainly do like to hang it out a little bit at the rear end. So you see him there backing it down into what is the Honda hairpin, so we'll get that one right this time.
Brother helping brother here as well, of course. Adrian at the moment leading the way, last year's world champion, just offering a bit of a tow to brother Williams Christian on the Suzuki. Just incidentally, as you can see, those first markers have come in lap times wise. At the moment, Andrew ZH, top of the pile, 123.6. Tftw less than a tenth adrift. Ricardo Bataro a quarter of a second away in third. Doesn't look like anyone's going to be on an improving lap time, but Williams Christian here will get a bit of a slipstream, bit of a tow down the start-finish straight, and will slot in nicely. Doesn't look like it's going to be good enough for pole position though. Orange in sectors 1, 2 and 3 as they come out of the final corner. Straight into
dived into pit lane.
There we go. So
that was quite an aggressive entrance to pit lane.
It caught me out there. I thought, Blooming heck, that's suddenly got quite narrow round there.
Certainly has.
Costa on the way into pits.
Yeah, I thought I was looking back at Zarco's long lap penalty when he was flying through the narrow part of the track at some high lean angles. But anyway, Piero Ricciuti, they're no one at the minute on an improving lap. Probably just a lot of these guys building up on their outlaps. Piero Ricciuti, of course, the man that won the last race last time out at Global Series Round 2, the Red Bull Ring. So certainly that's a man that likes a fast track, and well, Phillip Island is certainly a very fast track indeed. So watch out again for the wild child, as we've nicknamed him now, Piero Ricciuti. And he too does dive into pit lane as well. So it seems that a few of these guys then, just after their initial runs, just coming back into the pits, maybe a few little setup tweaks and changes, and they're just going to sort themselves out and see if they can go again in a few minutes' time.
Here's Mr. Tftw, home Grand Prix for him, of course, the Australian, one of the most likeable men on the MotoGP eSport grid. That's not saying that there's anyone that's not likeable, but he is a cracking bloke. It's Mr. Tftw.
And he went well here last year.
He did. He had a great run, didn't he? So hopefully he'll be up there challenging once again. Of course, he was part of the Global Series for the first time in 2019 when we had the Global Series arena. Misano, Aragon, Valencia, and I tell you what, he absolutely loved every single second of it, and as you would as well, of course. But he was just thrilled to be there.
Yeah, he was, and you got to say this year and last year for that matter, it's been very, very tough for Mr. T. Unfortunately, with just the state of the world the way it is at the moment, we do have to do these remotely and online, and of course being from Australia and playing against guys from Europe, that does mean that we do have some slight connection delays for Mr. T. So if you see him juttering about the screen, don't worry, that's not just an extravagant riding style. He's a little bit handicapped because of how far away he is with his internet connection.
I mean, it's incredible in the first place that he can link up with us all the way from Australia, but we are limited to the technical advancements that the world has, and unfortunately, even with the world's best internet, when you're told to stay at home, like, we're put up with whatever Wi-Fi or Ethernet signal he's got from his bedroom in all the way from Australia. So those are the things that we have to deal with in 2020 and 2021 when the world went upside down, really. Yeah,
it did, didn't it? And speaking of having to deal with things, Tftw is going to have to deal with the last couple of corners here, and he's on an improved lap. Well, actually, it's a red sector lap. So the last two sectors have been very, very good indeed, and he's only 66 thousandths off. So no doubt this is going to be very, very close to challenging that 1:23.666 from Andrew ZH on the Ducati as he flies across the line. Let's see what it is indeed. And yes, it does. He goes into a 1:23.5. So provisional pole position for Tftw then as we approach the 10 minutes to go mark.
Great lap that from the Italian, but looks as though there's a response coming here from the Suzuki Williams Christian. Here he is, red through that first sector. He's out of Honda hairpin here and will start to build his way up for the rest of the lap. This is just a magnificent piece of track, this. Out of Honda hairpin, then on your way through Siberia, then into the hay shed, over the top through Lukey Heights. Just incredible in real life to watch, but also you can just get a feel for how fast and flowing it is, even on the game. Look at that, over the top of the hill, then down the hill, hard onto the brakes, before flicking it right. One of the most iconic pieces of track in the world on any circuit. It really is a magnificent venue, and this lap from Williams Christian isn't that bad at all. Red in that first sector, it's just faded slightly. Personal best in sectors 2 and 3. Let's see where this is going to put him as we watch him from the helicopter on board shot. Goes across line and goes third onto the front row of the grid provisionally. Only a 10.5 adrift, with brother Adrian also improving as well, but he stays fourth. But he's only 0.2 adrift as well. Here's Riccardo Bottaro on the Pramac Ducati. He's into the final corner here as well. Incidentally, was on course for pole position through that first sector. Just faded slightly since then. Where's the Ducati man going to place himself? Stays fifth.
Yeah, so it's pretty tight at the top then. Less than half a second covering our top 7 at the minute, and that is Joel Clay on the Aprilia Team Grassini machine all the way down in 7th there. So yeah, fairly tight around Phillip Island. It's a place where they do often say it's one that's hard to make up time on your rivals, and it's certainly proving to be that way now. Joel Clay then is going to round the final corner. Don't think this lap's going to do anything for him, but you never know, he might not be too far off. As we say, this place is one for fine margins, and he does improve in the end anyway. He picks up 0.06 of a second, so not too much to help out, but I mean, it's quicker anyway, isn't it?
Hey, every little helps.
Exactly.
So, halfway point of this qualifying session then, just under 10 minutes to go. The current state of play, as you can see down the left-hand side of your screen. Tftw, Andrew ZH, William Christian, the front row. Second row of the grid, Adrian, Riccardo Bottaro and Piero Ricciuti. Row 3, Joel Clay, Jack Cameron, Dark Bright, with Mr. Tftw there in 10th. And Brazil's Fuchs on board the Petronas Yamaha, yet to set a lap. Here's Andrew ZH. He's been into the box, and he's back out on fresh rubber, I believe. This is his out lap.
Yeah,
So
hopefully, I was just going to say, hopefully we stay with Andrew ZH there, just to see what he does when he's winding the wick up, ready to fire onto a fast lap. Of course, this place, one that really needs to maintain the momentum around the final corner to be able to slingshot onto the front straight. We'll cut to Mr. T then, coming into Siberia. Interestingly, apparently the reason it's called Siberia is because when you watch it can be incredibly cold.
Really?
Yeah. Supposedly that is the reason why it's named Siberia, which is quite a fun little trivia fact that I was once told. It could have been absolute tosh, don't know. But
well, sounds good enough to me.
Yeah, but certainly that is what I understand the reason behind it.
Very good. Well, you are a font of knowledge, Jack Gorst.
Oh, hello. As we say, internet connection, not extravagant riding style.
Yeah, he was a little bit sideways there. And of course, because of the connection, he doesn't look like he's going that fast. And, well, he might not have been, actually, because he's pulled into pit lane.
Well, it's quite confusing, actually, because he was on a PB lap there. So he may well have been going up and challenging Dark Brighton even further if he stayed with it. But nonetheless, he doesn't. Through the hayshed then. I'm sure that if you're Australian or even just a fan of GP, you love that corner all the same as we do. If you're also a World Superbike fan, it was where Jonathan Rea had a big spill. I believe 2020, the first race of the year.
It was, yeah.
Where he took the front there and it went barrel rolling through the gravel.
Doesn't that feel like a lifetime ago?
Yeah, that does, yeah. I feel like I've aged about 12 years since then.
It's a good lap coming from Andrew ZH this. He was absolutely perfect over Lukey Heights, just clipping the apex on the way in, letting it drift wide before dragging it back just as he went over the brow of the hill. Second at the moment, and now goes top. Well, he's found something in the final sector there and takes provisional pole position away from his compatriot Tftw. Great lap from the factory Ducati man.
Yeah, not bad at all. Good lap then for Andrew ZH. Of course, been a bit of a pole position specialist so far this year in the Global Series. And looking like he's going to wrap another one up here as long as no one can challenge. Jack Hammer then. We haven't seen too much of the young Brit so far. We've seen him have a couple of crashes pop up on the side of your screen. But this is the first time we've followed him across the line. He's 1 second off at the moment. And he stays where he is, but he does improve. Picks up about a 10th and 3/4. So not a bad improvement then for Jack Hammer, but still some way to go as it is so close at the minute. Half a second all the way down to 7th. And then Jack Hammer, who's only 3/10 off the next guy, is in 8th. So very fast, but very far from where he will ideally want to be. Adrian then, coming up over the top. Whoa, what's on earth? That was an interesting camera angle. Over the top of the Heights and down into MG. Tricky little part of the course, this. If anyone's played MotoGP 21, which I'm sure many of you will have, you'll know that getting stopped coming down into MG without the rear wheel going over the top of you is very difficult indeed.
This could be good enough for the front row. Improving in sectors 2 and 3. Does it hold it together through the final one? He does. Look at that. The front row of the grid separated by less than a 10th of a second. Riccardo Bottaro looking to improve as well. 5th at the moment. Needs to find at least a 10th, if not more actually. if he wants to be able to improve on position rather than lap time, and the fact that it's gone grey through the second sector, you would have to say means that's fairly unlikely.
Yeah, you might think so, but he's certainly got a very good reference, as we do just lose that right there, so still some connection issues, unfortunately. But these two then, Piero Ricciuti and Riccardo Pittaro, coming down into the final sector. Piero is on an improving lap, which is positive. And they've both just lost it, unfortunately. So going to dive into the pit lane then for Riccardo. Ricciuti looks like he's going to carry on and see if he can slingshot onto another lap. But certainly this one, he'll be frustrated at that because it was a PB lap and he was only, less than a tenth off Riccardo, so he may well have leapfrogged him. But he's still got plenty of time to go again. 5 minutes to go, so I'm sure he'll dive back into the pit lane and we'll see him back out on track very, very shortly indeed.
Another crash for Jack Hammer. That's a pair of crashes in the space of about 30 seconds to a minute, so I'm not going to plan for the KTM man. I'm sure he would have been hoping for better than 8th after what he did at the opening round of the year.
Got a bit of a lull now, haven't we, before the final 3 minutes or so. Seems as though a few of the guys just in pits making the final improvements on the machines. Certainly, it's a bit of a Moto3 or MotoGP specialist trade, this, isn't it? Waiting until the very last second to come out all together and find yourselves blocking each other up on the circuit, but I'm sure we won't have too many dramas like that as we go down into the final few seconds. Adrian goes skittling down the road.
No, it's an interesting one in MotoGP eSport because we've seen it before whereby these guys, in the total opposite to what we see in Moto3, they don't want to have someone right in front of them because it can severely affect their braking markers, their concentration levels. They prefer to have clear road ahead so they can see their markers and get everything as accurate as possible. So with time ticking by, normally we'll see them all head out at the same time, but similar to what we see in Formula 1 actually, where they all space out and give sort of 30 seconds or a bit of road in front of them for them to attack at, so not to get in each other's way.
Yeah, you'd say what Williams Christian doing right now is kind of the limit of how close they'll get. They might want a reference up in front of them, but certainly Christian doesn't want to be any closer to Andrew ZH as he is now, because as Jack rightly says, it could mess with their braking markers and occasionally a few of their lines if they are too close, because they sometimes do run a few different lines, these boys. But anyway then, we're winding up before the final couple of laps, 2.5 minutes on the clock. Mr. T comes across the line, followed by his factory Ducati counterpart, Andrew ZH, and then Williams Christian as well. So certainly these boys, obviously Andrew ZH is the one they're all aiming for, but all these boys looking to improve and see if they can leapfrog a few people in the final minutes. Oh, and Christian's just tucked the front, coming into the southern loop. So that lap's gone, and he's not got too long to be able to get back out there and mount up for another lap. So I'm sure that he's already back into the box and getting ready to go. Fuchs needs a lap.
Incredibly, we've had 18 minutes of track action, and this is going to be his first valid lap. Hopefully, not to curse him. He's into the final corner. Surely he's not going to run wide and out of track limits here.
Not quite into the final corner.
No, it's not a great line, but for his sake, a lap is a lap at this point. There we go.
It's not too far off.
He's less than 2 seconds adrift, but he just needed to get a lap on the board.
Yeah. It's been a shame for Fuchs this year. He's incredibly quick. Last year when he was in the Global Series for Repsol Honda, in the qualifiers, I believe he scored maximum points, didn't he?
He did.
Which means he was the fastest qualifier at every stage for his region of the world. So he's incredibly quick. It just this year it hasn't worked out for him really. It's a bit of a shame because he's a very likeable guy indeed.
And of course he came in halfway through the season as well.
He did, yeah. He came in after Global Series 1. So yeah, well, difficult year for Fuchs. But
it is, but you know, it's another valuable learning experience for him. And as we saw in Austria last time out, you know, he's not afraid to get in amongst it. He didn't particularly create many friends there. There were a few riders that weren't best pleased with his antics. But,
no.
I mean, for us, it was great. Offered plenty of drama, plenty of action, plenty of intrigue.
Yeah, it certainly did. It was a bit like bumper cars at the start, wasn't it? Yeah, like if you go down the local track with your mates and you're on mini bikes and you're getting a bit bit elbows out and digging your knees into each other. It was certainly that sort of thing. And just as it was looking like we're not going to have any action coming into the final minute or so, Adrian, he's on a red sector lap then, and there's 3 others all on PBs as well, and with how close they are, well, they may well challenge for the front row as well. So Adrian then, it's just gone away for him in the 3rd split, which is a shame, but we'll see how close he is, because he's only 99 thousandths off anyway. So round in the final few corners then, let's see if Adrian can get the big Honda fired up. See what he can pull across the line.
It's going to be his last lap, because the checkered flag is out. Here we go. Adrian 3rd at the moment. Can he challenge the top? No, he can't. He will stay 3rd at best. Andrew ZH has taken the checkered flag, so he'll stay on that 123.491. Tftw was on course to improve for the 1st sector, but it's faded through the 2nd and the 3rd, so it looks extremely unlikely that he'll be able to take top spot. Ricardo Botaro's on a good lap. Can he somehow shuffle himself onto that front row of the grid? Here comes the Pramac Ducati man. He's out of the final corner. Will come across the line now and will stay 5th despite improving. Still waiting on Tftw to come across the line, which he has done, and he stays 2nd. So that's it then. Andrew ZH takes top spot ahead of Tftw and Adrian, with Williams, Christian, Ricardo Botaro and Joel Clay, your 2nd row of the grid. Piero Ricciuti, Jack Hammer and Mr. Tftw, there we go, put my teeth in, row 3, and Fuchs rounds out the grid ahead of the virtual Australian Grand Prix at Phillip Island.